October 28th, 2025. Is there a motion to open tonight's meeting? Trustee Rosenberg, second trustee Galen, all in favor. Meeting is hereby open. Welcome, everybody. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is a presentation by Biomed. And it looks like Biomed's trying to get themselves ready.
Thank you. Yes.
So if you could just introduce yourself, tell us a little about yourself and what you're going to talk about.
Absolutely. Can everybody hear me okay?
Sure.
Okay, great. So for the record, my name is Jennifer Gray. I'm a lawyer with the law firm of Keene and Bean in White Plains. We represent Biomed Realty, who has a piece of property in the town of Greenburgh. I'm here tonight with Diego Villarreal from John Meyer Consulting, JMC. Also joining us via Zoom, I believe, is Ethan Roche from Biomed Realty. He is the Director of Development stationed out of the Bay Area of California. So he is joining us by Zoom tonight. He wanted to be here in person, but was unable to arrange his schedule. We appreciate you carving out some time for us on your agenda tonight to allow us to share some information about our pending project in the town of Greenburgh. To be clear, we are not requesting any permits or approvals from the Village of Dobbs Ferry, but because of the project's proximity to the Village of Dobbs Ferry, also the Village of Hastings and the Village of Ardsley, we've been reaching out to the neighboring communities to offer to have an informational session like the kind we'll have tonight with you to introduce you to the project and try to answer any questions that you may have. With that, what I will do is we've prepared a short PowerPoint presentation. And Diego, if you could just click to the next slide, I'll orient you to the site. So the property is at 410-460 Sawmill River Road. It is a property that was previously occupied by a life science company called Accorda, and they vacated back in 2022. So the property is currently vacant and consists of some large buildings. If you're familiar with the building on Sawmill River Road, it's directly across the street from the Lofts apartment building. What Biomed is proposing, and here we've got a slide that orients you to the property. As you can see, it's nestled between Interstate 87 and Sawmill River Road. And if you click to the next slide, it'll show you where the property sits in the context of the town of Greenburgh and the 3 adjacent villages. So it has just taken a second to load here. It's not flipping forward. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
It's not you.
Can I ask, I'm not seeing it on Zoom either. Are you guys seeing it on Zoom back there?
It's been taking time to load.
Okay.
Some issue with New York.
So in the meantime, I'll just plug forward with the presentation, and as it loads, I'll return back to that slide. But what Biomed is proposing is the redevelopment of the site, demolishing the existing buildings and constructing a 280,000 square foot warehouse building. What's important to note about this warehouse building is it is not proposed to be a last mile facility, an Amazon type warehouse or large volume distribution center or distribution center at all. It is strictly a traditional warehouse for the storage of goods. In terms of where we are with the town of Greenburgh, we have filed a site plan application. The town board is the approval authority for the site plan application because of the size of the property. We're well over 5 acres at about 42 acres. We have been referred from the town board down to the planning board in the town of Greenburgh, and we've been meeting with the planning board for them to provide their advisory report and recommendation back to the town board on the site plan application. In the meantime, the town board has also declared itself lead agency for the State Environmental Quality Review Act purposes for the application. So in addition to meeting with you all and Hastings and the village of Ardsley. We've also been in direct communication with our neighbors. We've got a cemetery, the Westchester Hills and Mount Hope Cemetery to our south. We have a Westchester County office building to our north and an apartment building directly across the street. So if you see on this property, this is on this slide, this is the site on Sawmill River Road. And as I mentioned, there's the cemetery to the south, Westchester County office building directly to the north, and then that series of 3 buildings directly across Sawmill River Road are the lofts, apartment buildings, which are actually located in the village of Hastings. So Sawmill River Road is the dividing line for the municipal border between Greenburgh and Hastings. And Dobbs Ferry, as you know, is a little bit to the north and a little bit to the west of this site. Just a little bit about Biomed Realty itself as a company. Biomed is one of the leading providers of real estate solutions for the life science industry. They own and operate over 16 million square feet of high-quality life science real estate. Recently, they became part of Blackstone's portfolio. This site in the town of Greenburgh is actually one of, if not the last remaining asset that they have in New York. Their main hubs are now in Boston, the Bay Area, and Colorado. So when Accorda, a life science tenant of this building, vacated in 2022, they set out to try to re-tenant the property with another life science company. And Accorda had been there for about 11 years at that point. And if we flip to the next slide, if it's possible, we have a little timeline of the leasing history. So Accorda vacated in 2022, as you see in the middle of that slide. However, Biomed Realty began its marketing efforts to re-tenant this building back in 2017 in anticipation of that vacating of the property. Attempts to release have been unsuccessful despite countless hours, as you see on the slide. CBRE, life science broker, spent upwards of 150 hours working on re-tenanting the site, along with Biomed Realty's own leasing team, spending over 250 hours of time trying to re-tenant this site. So with no interest from life science users in the existing site and no other interest otherwise, the Biomed Realty looked to its marketing team to figure out what can we do with the site? What's the highest and best use? And the marketing team came back and said, warehouse is the highest and best use. That is a permitted use, principal permitted use in the town of Greenburgh zoning district, the general industrial zoning district where the property is situated. So we filed our site plan application for the warehouse building. And what I'll do now is I'll turn it over to Diego, who will walk you through the site plan to orient you to what is proposed on the site, and we can answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Good evening, all again. Diego Villarreal with JMC. We're the planning and engineering consultants that have been working with the applicant. We actually have a long history with them. We've been working on this property since 2010 when Accorda and when Biomed took over the property and Accorda was in there, and they moved in. We did some expansions with them. So we've been working on the planning and engineering side with them for several years. And when Accorda vacated, that's when we began this process of redeveloping the existing property. Not to reiterate a lot of the things that Jennifer had said already, really just going to dive into the proposed site plan. This is a rendering of the site plan. Sawmill River Road is along the bottom portion of the page, and you can see 87 runs kind of diagonally on that the top portion of the page there. So property starts relatively narrow on the north side of it and then gets wider and wider as you continue to the south. I'm sure you're very familiar with the property itself, the topography. It slopes up. Sawmill River Road sits on the low portion of the site, and then the entire property really slopes up all the way to 87. So that was
Can I ask you
something.
one thing, I'm sorry. How In the terms of like football fields, how many football fields would that?
We'll get into that. Yeah, it's a big building.
Yeah, it looks like
Not
it's-
going to deny it, so we'll dump into that in just a few minutes here. So the building itself, it's a 280,000 square foot building. I'll get you the exact dimensions in a few minutes. All of the existing buildings on the property would be demolished as part of this project. So the balance of the buildings, they already took down a number of the buildings. There were other buildings situated on the property, all of which have been since demolished. This will take down the balance of the buildings that were occupied by Accorda. It also occupies a lot of the existing parking areas that sit along Sawmill River Road. So right now, there were multiple access points. The access points would be limited to the northern and southern ends of the property. Those would be the two main access points, and then the building sits between the two. All of the truck loading, truck access, any of the loading bays is in the back side of the building, between the retaining wall that's back there and the back side of the building. None of the truck bays, there's no loading doors or overhead doors that face the front portion of the property or Sawmill River Road. Everything's kind of tucked. As we had spoken about, with the topography and the hillside, this building's kind of being built into that hillside. So there's a series of retaining walls that are going to be constructed back there, and the loading area is situated between those retaining walls and the building to really provide screening and sound attenuation within that specific area. The architect did develop some architectural elevations to show you the different styles of the building and what this will look like, and they're continuing to refine those, something that we're providing as we go through the process with the town of Greenburgh is some renderings of the building, which I'm sure we'll continue to forward you documentation and information as we provide it to the town of Greenburgh itself. The building itself, as indicated before, is 280,000 square feet, and it extends, again, from the parking area on the northern side to the southern side of the property there. I will get you an exact dimension, Mr. Mayor, and let you know comparison to the football field.
Just something that I could
analogy.
relate to, that we could all relate to. It sounds huge, it looks huge.
Understood. Yeah, I'm not gonna, it's a 280,000 square foot building. I will get you the exact dimensions. I'll peek at the-
warehouse.
What's that?
9-acre building.
It is a,
Acres about 43,000 square feet.
Correct.
So this is a enormous building.
This is one
I'll
building.
just,
This is one building.
just to clarify, yeah, it's a little less. It's about closer to 6 acres as opposed to 9 acres. But again, I'll give you that analogy. I know exactly what you're referring to, just to try to give you some comparative distances within there. It is a large building. It is fully compliant from a zoning standpoint. I just want to make sure that everybody understands this. This property is located within an industrial zone in the town of Greenburgh. It is within the GI district where this use is a principally permitted use, or excuse me, special, principal permitted use. From a dimensional standpoint, setbacks, building heights, building coverage, FAR, everything is fully conforming with the zoning ordinance. We are not seeking any variance as part of this application. There is no zoning amendment or petition that is before the town board. It is a use, and from a dimensional and bulk standard requirement is fully permitted within this district in this location. Access and truck circulation, that's always been a big question. We did provide a detailed traffic study as part of this analysis. We've been working with the New York State DOT. Obviously, Sawmill River Road is a state roadway, so we do have to get approvals from them to permit this use and the access points on the property itself. Truck traffic, because of our proximity to 87, just to the north of us, it's a little bit just under a mile to the north. So that provides access directly to 87, and then going south on Tuckahoe Road, those are your two connection points for any truck traffic coming to and from the property.
How many bays are there?
79 bays are located in 79 loading bays along the back side
That
of the
means,
property.
I'm not good at math, but 79 trucks could come at one time. And
No, it's understood the analogy there, but 79 bays doesn't mean 79 trucks come at once. That's sometimes a confusion with how these facilities operate. And I think what Jennifer indicated was this is not a last mile distribution facility. This is not a distribution facility. This is a warehouse. And a warehouse facility has much different traffic patterns than what you might be accustomed to with, say, an Amazon last mile distribution facility. There's a lot of activity at those coming and going. Yes, there will be truck traffic associated with this use, but just because there's 79 bays, the building is designed to accommodate those, but depending the tenants that are brought in here, all 79 bays might not be penetrated at the same time.
Do you have customers lined up already?
Excuse me?
You have customers
We
lined
do not have, and not, at least that I'm aware of, Biomed might be able to provide
Could
some
you,
more.
what would be an
information on
example
that.
of a, like, what kind of warehouse storage? Like, just, it does, not for this particular one, but like you said, you have a lot of buildings, so like, what are in some of the other buildings?
Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
So,
I think Ethan is trying to speak, actually.
Can you hear me or no?
oh,
Yeah, there you are.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ethan Warsh. I'm work for Biomed, and I apologize that I can't be there. It was my full intention to, but I broke my ankle 2 weeks ago, and so I'd show you the boot, but I don't have a camera. But appreciate you guys hearing us out tonight, and glad that we were able to find some time. So like Jennifer mentioned, Biomed is a life science developer, and it would be our greatest joy if we could find a life science tenant to fill this space. It's been something that we've been trying to do for the last 8 years now, is trying to find a life science tenant. But, you know, regretfully, you guys are probably aware of this also, that particular geography, that particular part of the country is not one of the major life science hubs. And so it's been really challenging for us, especially to fill such a large life science campus. You know, there's existing about 280,000 square feet. The same square footage that we're proposing now exists out there now in a very dated life science building. And so not only is it hard to find a tenant that is of the size that we would require to fill that campus, a huge amount of investment would be required by that tenant to get those buildings up to current lab standards that we see now. And so that's what's led us here today. But Biomed doesn't intend to necessarily build this on spec development. We don't necessarily build this type of real estate. And so we'd wait till there was an end user in sight, either someone, you know, who is a warehouse developer who wanted to build it, or a future tenant. And so Biomed would not plan on building this, again, on spec. But because this entitlement process is quite lengthy, you know, we would need to undertake it as we are now, well prior to there being a tenant that's been identified. You know, we've been at it now with Greenberg for over a year, maybe more, in this entitlement process. And so obviously that needs to be taken care of well before a tenant's identified. And like Jennifer mentioned, or maybe Diego mentioned, we heard loud and clear from Greenberg, from the initial meetings that we had with them at the town board, that they did not want to see a last mile distribution facility, that they thought that was too intensive of a use, that the roadway there couldn't support it, and it was just not something they were interested in. Obviously, that greatly limits our ability to market the site, but we heard it loud and clear. And so the first step we took in modifying our application was removing that use from the table and saying, we will not pursue a last mile distribution facility. We understand the town doesn't want it. We want to be a good neighbor. We won't pursue it. And so that's off the table, right? And so that greatly diminishes our opportunities for leasing this. But again, we heard that the town didn't want it. We took it off the table. And so we're pursuing this traditional warehouse use. And I think the question that I chimed in to answer was, do you have an example of some of these traditional warehouse users? So now I'll just answer that simple question that you asked. And so one of the examples, I think a good one is that like a tire or car part manufacturer or distributor might use this as their warehouse, and you know, has either retail locations that sell parts, or has mechanic shops, you know, auto garages that have an intermittent need for a specific part. And so they'll, you know, you see Snap-on trucks, et cetera, driving around. So something like that. And I think the big distinction between all of the types of uses that you would see us pursuing here is that they're not direct to consumer. So you're not seeing trucks leave and going directly to someone's doorstep. Instead, you're seeing this being a business to business type of operation, which means that the amount of traffic that's associated with it is greatly diminished. And I don't know if we've gone through it yet, but we have the truck traffic estimates, which are the industry standard for the type of use we're pursuing and the type of use that we'll be limited to based on the entitlements that we're receiving. And I think that they're much more digestible than what you'd see if we were pursuing that last mile use. And I think Diego or Jennifer can show you specifically what those numbers are. But I think it's around 6 trucks per hour in the peak hours. Much less than what you'd see for a distribution center. I live near, a UPS distribution center, and in the morning it's like a swarm of bees leaving the nest, and so you wouldn't see anything like that here. You'd also see much more normal hours of operation versus, all through the night, people sorting packages. Anyway, I'll stop it. I'll stop there.
Thank you.
Ask for clarification. So this is in the town of Greenburgh. I'm also just saying this for the public. So this is in the town of Greenburgh. So the village of Dobbs Ferry has no kind of oversight of this project whatsoever. You're coming here as sort of a good neighbor to explain the project to us and let us know that this is on the horizon. Is there anything else I'm missing?
That is exactly it. Yep, no, we just wanted to open up lines of communication in case you had any comments or questions, so that we can try to address those just as a good neighbor.
But if people in Dobbs wanted to opine or be involved in the discussions, they can go to the planning board meetings for the town of Greenburgh and to the town of the board.
Right, so, right, I would recommend that they monitor the town of Greenburgh's website. So we've been before the planning board a number of times. The planning board, at the stage they're at right now, it's not a public hearing. I think that they would accept written comment, but we haven't had verbal public comment at any of those meetings. Once we get back to the town board, after the planning board issues its report, the town board will have a public hearing, and that'll be noticed, and they'll take oral comment at the meeting, obviously written comment.
I just wanted to say as a side note, my day job is that I work in the Office of Economic Development for Westchester County. And one of the most important sectors that the Office of Economic Development is focusing on is the life sciences. So the county has a very large infrastructure for life sciences. So before you leave, I'm going to give you my card because it could totally help you to connect with what's going on in the county. And it could be pretty valuable because we've been working on this for years.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that.
Can I ask the status of the SECRA review at this point? Will there be a positive deck, a negative deck? If so, I'm sure the village of Dobbs Ferry would like to be included as an interested party.
Sure. So the town board has declared itself lead agency, but other than the information collecting, they have not rendered a secret determination yet. We expect once we're back before them and we have the public hearing before them, at that point they will render their determination. But at this point, we've been submitting all of the supporting documentation, the noise studies, traffic reports, et cetera, to support.
You're supplementing at this point with the
Yes,
report.
we are seeking a negative declaration that there's no significant adverse environmental impact.
Thank you. Just wanted to clarify.
How many trucks does it take to fill 280,000 square feet of warehouse space?
79.
That is a question, we don't have that fact for you here tonight, but we can certainly endeavor to get that
Yeah,
answer.
I'm just trying to balance that against 6 trucks per hour peak. I mean, it strikes me that you could run 6 trucks per hour peak for 1,000 years and not fill this spot. So I'm just curious how, last mile distribution or not last mile distribution, the function of a warehouse is to bring things in and take them out. And the flow of ins and outs is what you would expect from a warehouse. So a certain amount of volume has to be in your thinking. And 6 trucks, an hour, 8 to 12 hours a day, that doesn't strike me as a lot relative to this space.
I think this type of use specifically, is more geared towards longer term storage. And so I don't know that it is necessarily a volume. Some of this might be backstock for a large retailer. That's another use. Say there's a regional hardware store chain or something like that, and they keep, 30 lawnmowers here and they're pulling 2 lawnmowers off the shelves, every, week to restock, things like that. I also say that we're showing 79 docks because we're really just, what we've done, we've wanted to create as much flexibility as possible for a future tenant. And so we don't think that 79 docks is necessarily what's required. we could probably gray out some of those spaces and it would still be a very viable warehouse. And I think even in this plan, you can see there's little dark arrows and light arrows at each dock. The dark arrows, I believe, are the ones indicating, day one docks, and the light arrows are indicating like a potential future could be a dock. But we're not necessarily like, I don't foresee, especially with the use, we're proposing 79 trucks lined up there every morning or evening.
I'm not familiar with Greenberg's code. Would the eventual tenant have to come back in for approvals that would be subject to a public hearing? In other words, when the tenant is identified after you go through this process, are they coming in for a special permit or some sort of?
No, so the site plan that we're seeking, this would accommodate 2 to 4 tenants. As long as the tenant's use complies with the entitlements that we receive from the town of Greenberg and doesn't exceed the secret review that's ongoing with the town of Greenberg, then no additional permits or approvals would be required for that tenant to occupy the space. If there was a tenant ultimately that wanted to occupy the space for something much greater than what we're proposing here, yes, they would absolutely have to come back and seek further permits and approvals, and the decision would be made at that time.
And there will be building permits both for the core and shell that have to be pulled and also for the specific tenant improvement. So it will certainly be on the town's radar, when a tenant does come along and wants to build either, the entire building or down the road just their own space. That would require a building permit. And so, there wouldn't be any sort of fly-by-night occupancy that would happen.
And as far as the permitted uses, you said you took, distribution warehouse off the table. Is there a list of all possible uses that are being approved in this process or that you're seeking approval for? Or is it possible that down the road it could turn into, a solar farm or a data center
No,
or
it's
something?
very specific to a warehouse, a
Warehouse.
traditional warehouse, not distribution.
Storing of physical.
Yeah,
But-
in fact, in the
but what
town.
about non-warehouse uses? Are those-
There would be a whole other approval process for that. And in fact, in the town of Greenberg, distribution uses actually it's a different use category, and we would require a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals in order to have that distribution component. So that was taken off the table by Biomed up front. So we're proposing a traditional warehouse only.
It's been empty for 3 years. Have your taxes reduced, any tax certiorars?
There have been tax cert proceedings filed, yes.
Okay, and have you gotten any reduction in your taxes since then?
I believe so. I'm not privy to those proceedings, but I believe there have been reductions
Okay.
over the years, yes.
Anything else?
I just wanted to bring up, sorry, that was loud. I don't know if you're familiar with the indirect source rule legislation that's in Albany right now. I actually professionally, I manage a industrial business zone in the city. There is an indirect source rule that was took effect in California, that there's legislation proposed in Albany that would actually regulate warehouses specifically, and it's being proposed by environmental advocates that are trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And so it would regulate the warehouses, not the trucks, and it would regulate anything over 50,000 square feet, and it's not necessarily based on volume, it's based on the square feet of the facility. So just something to keep in mind as you're looking through this. You might just want to look into that if you haven't already.
I appreciate that. Yeah, obviously, if and when this is built, it'll comply with all of the rules and regulations, both at the local level and at the state level, at the time it's constructed. But I appreciate you bringing that up. Thank you.
Anybody else have any other comments? Okay, we want to thank you for taking the
Thank
time.
you.
We realize we have no say in this necessarily, but as the deputy mayor pointed out, residents can go to the town of Greenberg and follow it as the process goes through, and they do have the ability to reach out to their elected officials at town of Greenberg to let their feelings know. But again, thank you very much. We didn't have to come down. We appreciate it, and we'd appreciate if you just keep us advised as it goes along.
Thank you. Yeah, we
Thank you.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you very
By the
much.
way, it's about 700 trucks.
You can still tell me how many football fields it is, right?
4.
4 football fields.
Yes. It's about a 1,200-foot length building. It's about 250 feet
I
wide.
thought it was worse,
So
to be honest.
lengthwise, it's about that. So,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
Next is a presentation by our own building department. Please tell us who you are, your job title, and what you have for us today.
Dan Romer, the building inspector. Good evening, Mayor and Board of Trustees. A little update on the building department. To date, we've issued 873 permits. That includes building, plumbing, electrical, mechanical, sign, and tree. We have issued 80 continuous certificate of continuous occupancy. We issued 80 of them with about 27 pending. That's for anytime there's a transfer of title in the village. Fire inspections, we're at about 68 for commercial facilities. For educational, we've done about 16. And for assemblies, that's like village restaurants, anything that holds over 50 people, we've done 12. And for nonprofits like Children's Village, we did about 30 inspections there. A little update on 41 Cedar Street, where we're at with that. They had their last steel inspection today. They'll be pouring the remainder of the concrete slabs in the next week or so. The interior and exterior metal framing has started and will go to about the middle of December. The roofing will be done in December. The brickwork on the exterior will start in early spring, and then like January, they'll be doing the electrical and plumbing roughing. February, March, sheetrock taping, fixtures, and then May, June, the finishes and millwork.
Wow.
That's good to know.
Hopefully. That's
Hopefully.
what I'm being told.
We've been told before, but okay.
The one other thing is, after next week, will be a fully hybrid fleet in the building department as far as our vehicles go.
And has the number of permits increased from last year? I mean, how does it work?
Last year, we issued a total of 997, so I think we're going to be a little bit over that total, but probably around there.
Okay, and just for the benefit of the public, what would you say is the biggest problem that you see?
Challenge. The biggest challenge.
Biggest challenge, thank you. What's the biggest challenge? What do you, if you had to speak to the public, what would you say they should do? You know, either to get a permit, or to get a proper permit, when you're faced with this, what is your?
One of the biggest problems we're having now is actually people closing out the permits. We got drawers full of open permits, and we're trying to switch. We've been sending out letters and emails trying to get them to close out all the permits. That's like the biggest challenge right now.
Do you have revenue tied to that? Is there a final payment on a permit that comes when it gets closed?
Say it again?
Is there revenue tied to the closing of a permit, meaning like,
Well,
are you
if-
collecting a final payment upon closure of the permit?
For building permits, there is because it goes on an estimated cost when you take out the building permit. So there is a final cost statement with that, and then sometimes there's a final payment depending on if the cost changed from the estimated cost of the job. And then if the job isn't done within a year, there is renewal fees on permits too.
And an open permit is considered a violation on the property, so it would be in the
If it's an
best
open
interests
permit.
of residents to get these permits closed. For any reason, if you were to do municipal search, it would appear as a violation.
Any other
I just have a
questions or
question
comments?
for businesses. And this isn't just specific to Dobbs Ferry, because I, work with every community in the county, but business owners often have a lot of ill feelings about the whole permit process to begin with. And I believe that some of that is because it's not always as transparent as the building departments may think it is. And one of the things that has helped other communities that I'd like to see in this one is almost like a welcome kit. Something that if I'm going to open a business in Dobbs Ferry, I get this, I know everything that that I need to do and when it needs to be done and what the costs are. I don't think the process is as transparent, and in order to attract more businesses, we want to appear to be business friendly. And I also, as a trustee, I never know what's opening anywhere. Like, it would be nice, and I think I asked for this when I first got on the board 4 years ago, but if every quarter or something, we could get a list of, things that have filed to open, so we have an idea of what's going on. I don't know if that's possible, because I'm sure people take out permits under like LLCs, and it's not really the name of the business, but.
Sometimes, yeah, but the thing about the welcome thing, I did talk to Rick Tannenbaum. We're going to work with
Yeah.
him a little bit about making like some kind of welcome thing.
Right, like a
But-
checklist even, like just something so people know.
Also, if you come to the building department, we have Sarah, our secretary, in there.
Mm-hmm.
She is very welcoming and very willing to help anybody that
Oh, yeah,
comes
yeah, it's
in
not a personal
and
thing, it's
explain them the
literally a.
process.
Right, just if I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll open a business in Dobbs Ferry, or maybe I'll open a business in Mamaroneck, what is it, what do I have to go through in each, and, people just know.
Correct. We are working on it. It is different with every kind of business you open to, whether it's structural or just type of business, change of use, if it goes to the board or not.
And I think we can, once that's done, and I know we have extra capacity with Rick working on that, but, hopefully, we can support. I would love to, we've been talking about like communication from the village to residents, to business owners, to visitors, and I think like one thing that would be really amazing is like for all the permits that you all issue, anytime there's any kind of like decision tree that someone needs to go through, and like assuming that most people who need permits have never, undertaken a construction project
I do have a whole thing on the website of what requires a building permit,
Right.
plumbing permit, HVAC.
Right.
There is a list on our website
Yeah.
now.
It's more sort of a general, it's not anything, like, it's all on there, it's just kind of because of the constraints of our website as it stands right now, et cetera, I know from going through this a couple of times myself, like, and not being a, building or environmental professional, like, it takes a long time to wrap your head around it, and if you are someone who works, outside of Dobbs Ferry and don't have time to come visit the wonderful Sarah, it can just be a little bit intimidating. So I just want to say, like, we are here to support you, to make sure that we can like translate this information to people who don't work in these fields as easily as possible, in as many ways as possible, for everyone who needs it, so that they know how to find it, what they need, and know how to call Sarah.
And could you tell the board a little bit about how the process of combining the AHRB and the planning board has panned out over time? And if you have other suggestions, part of that process was taking a number of application types that used to be reviewed through the AHRB and turning those over to the building department. And I'm just curious that now that you've been undertaking that for a couple of years, how do you reflect on that? And what might we change, add, or take off?
I think it's been working extremely well now that they're combined. It expedites the process a little bit for the applicant. They're not getting bounced back and forth between two boards and everything.
So you're seeing a sort of lack of complaints about that issue at this point? It's not coming up, or are there other types of complaints?
Say it again?
We used to have applicants and, who would be frustrated about going back and forth. We used to hear from them often. Is there a different problem now? Or was that solved?
No, I think it's been, I haven't seen any problem with it since it's been merged. Like I said, I think it expedites the process a little, and it's easier for the two boards to work together. On the one board act as two boards.
And what about the building department taking on some roles that used to be part of the AHRB? Is that working out well? Is
I
it been
think it's been
problematic for
working
the
out
team?
great. We do a 14-day notice for like a letter, signs, fences, and stuff like that. And the only time that we would send it to the AHRB is if a neighbor has a complaint or something about it. And I think it's taken a little pressure off the board also, instead of looking at every fence, every sign where it's not necessary all the time.
Well, and sorry, one more. We implemented this historic district and guidelines. Have you had many or any applications that have utilized those guidelines, and have you had any feedback from applicants?
I think we had one when we first implemented it for a roof, and that was it.
Okay.
Since it's been implemented.
Yeah, interesting, considering how much time we spent on it.
It only took like 4 or 5 years, right?
Yeah.
It's only that Belden district, it's on Belden Avenue, that one block.
Okay. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank
You're welcome.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome.
Steve, is there anything you can do with air conditioning in this room? Air conditioning, anyone? Can we put it on?
I'll do it.
Before.
Rob, you're up next.
While we're working on the HVAC,
I thought it was back there.
Mayor, would you like me to run through the list?
Yeah.
It's kind of exhaustive, but I'll speak my New York fast speak.
Exhausting or exhaustive?
Thank you, Mayor and Board. Thank you, Dan, by the way. Appreciate it. A couple of active projects, notable projects that was part of the package, no particular order. The deer harvesting is going well, started October 1st. It's running to the end of the year. Basically, there are also a separate vegetation study as part of the deer harvesting to actually gauge the success of the reforestation, which is expected from the deer culling program. So this is our first couple of weeks into the program, and we're getting regular updates from Peter Kelly, Deer Management. So to date, there were 7 deer that were harvested in line with projected deer culling based on the density analysis of how many deer are noted in those acres. It's part of his report. Project Mover electric bikes. I'm happy to report that the village is one of 6 local communities participating in the Project Mover e-bikes since July of this year, when the program was unveiled. Early stats show that there's been 571 rides registered in Dobbs Ferry alone, averaging 17 minutes per use per date, and there's a lot of metrics that support that. And even driving in every day, different routes, you can see the use of the bicycles. It's the first year which it's exceeding expectations at this point. I think in a couple of weeks they'll be taking all those racks and bikes out for the winter, and they'll be back in the summer. The Gould Park Recreation Facility Study, that's the Stephen Tilley Architects they presented a couple of weeks ago, the conceptual schematic plan of at the August 12th meeting. They entailed the siting considerations, program components involving circulation and building massing, optional programs, and landscaping layouts and cost analysis, are very preliminary at this stage. The village planning team at Nelson Pope is currently preparing a request for qualifications for the board to consider to work on further design, aiming to publish the RFQ before the end of this year. Construction, as a lot of people might have noticed, on the Palisades Street, the wall. Basically, it developed a state of disrepair, which we had to close it down to one way, and apologize for any inconvenience. We're working through it. Right now, the engineers, they finished their analysis of the soil, so we can actually turn that into actual design, so we can actually rebuild it and it'll last for another couple of generations. I believe that wall is over 150 years old, I was told. So it outlived its design span, and it needs a shot in the arm. So our professional engineers on board are taking care of that. The spray pad at Memorial Park, a kickoff meeting was held this year as well, back in, I think it was May. Abbott and Price started construction. Project is now
done, isn't it? I mean,
it's coming along right now. It's about 80% complete. They want to finish by the end of the year because we want to actually test the water. We have Veolia water actually hooking up the filter so we can actually test the connections. But yeah, they did put the rubberized mat, so it actually you can't not see it when you pass by it. So they're coming a long way. So again, they're going to be finished by the end of this year. That was a 50-50 match program for the county, the CDBG program from last year's bank of projects. So I'm glad to see that's coming to fruition, so we can actually use that next summer. Verizon cell tower, the village is working with Verizon Wireless to locate a cell tower in the downtown area in an effort to improve the cell service in that area. Eligible sites are being reviewed by Verizon, and we're going back and forth. So everybody's crossing their fingers that we'll actually get some help on that front. Let's see, we have the split heat pumps at Memorial Rec Building.
The village was able to secure a $20,000 grant through the efforts of Sustainable Dobbs. Thank you again. Earmarked for the installation of split heat pumps in the memorial building. This sustainable energy grant project will be bid through a public RFP process this year, which fulfills one of the more important goals of the CSC program, which is the elimination of the need for fossil fuels in municipal buildings. I believe DPW just had a tie-in to their solar panels this Saturday, so Con Ed is now kicking back power into that grid, also through a sustainable grant. So we're working in that direction. Update on the Washington Avenue sidewalks. The sidewalks along a portion of Washington Avenue between Belden and Maple Street were designed by the village engineers, and the sidewalk replacement project was awarded to the lowest qualified bidder, Casal Contracting. Project is being funded through a CREST grant through DASNY, using a portion of the $250,000 grant awarded to the village. Again, that project should be completed this year.
I had thought that that was going to start right after the Walgrove sidewalk project ended. Was there a delay?
No, they wanted to get these sidewalks in by the school first, and then we had more complicated issues with the moving of the Con Ed pools, which was part of the design, plus a retaining wall. So it was a little bit more complicated, and the timing was where they wanted to finish by Springhurst first, and then this project was designed to actually have, it's like a two-level construction. So that's ready to begin. The High Street Bridge rehab, the village was awarded a $2 million DASNY and CREST grant for the rehabilitation of the High Street Bridge. The village engineer is working on bid documents to allow for the project bidding this year for construction to start in the spring of next year. Again, it's a $2 million project that was awarded, and that was the engineer's estimate, so I don't foresee any additional cost to that, because the engineer estimate is pretty accurate at this point. The Belden Avenue storm drain repairs, there was a 250-foot portion of a storm drain pipe on the south side of Belden Avenue between Washington Avenue and Pietro Place that collapsed. It's undergoing repairs, which I believe is complete, Steve? Thank you. So MTS Construction, under a general contract with the village, they were able to actually use this contract to fix these what I call smaller infrastructure breakdowns, whether it's sidewalk, curb, catch basins, sanitary sewers. Smaller jobs can be done under one project without rebidding it every time. So this MTS contract, I think there was about 17 different contracts already this year, so we didn't have to bid this out because it was already bid out as one infrastructure project village-wide. So they have no shortage of projects. So we rely on them to actually help us with that. A couple of notable storm drainage projects, Gould project, Gould Park Phase 2, Pietro Place, Maple Avenue. Now that Phase 1 Upper Gould drainage project is completed, village engineers, they're a bunch of busy guys, I guess, they've completed the final report on the recommendations for Phase 2 drainage at Lower Gould. The next step include authorizing detailed engineering drawings, resolving easement issues, and generating bid documents and seeking further funding from Westchester County, in addition to the little bit over about $1 million from the CFA grant that we were able to secure as well. Construction cost is estimated at $3.5 million for this Phase 2. We're also coordinating with the schools to see if we can avoid shutting the park in between whether football or baseball season, so we're trying to bid this project with them in mind as well, the least impact.
So to confirm on the timeline for that, when are we potentially looking at that construction happening for Gould? Can you remember?
I believe they wanted to at least get the football, avoid the football season. So if they're digging up the field to put in the new larger drain installation that's cutting across Lower Gould Field, I believe they're trying to time it in between to avoid any conflict with the football season.
I think it was going to miss one baseball season, right?
One football season, not a baseball.
But
we don't know. That's
Yeah.
the answer?
But we
Yes.
also, we're gonna do that when we do the Gould building, right, maybe?
Well,
So
we
that
want
don't
to find
have
out
set-
if
Well,
that
that's
can be
sequentially.
off-put for another season without losing the grant money.
Well, let me just say, yeah, we met with the superintendent of the schools, and
Yes.
we went over this with him. I don't have the information available, but I think it was one season of baseball, I thought, but,
Right, by the time it gets
and
bid
one
out,
football
yeah,
season.
the project itself should take about 4 months construction, which basically, in this particular area, it's just basically trenching, putting the pipe in and backfilling and restoring it back to its original or better condition. So whenever that 4-month period starts and ends, there's a couple of moving parts to that, as you mentioned, with the Gould pool and other things.
But if the Gould building if this is gonna be a 4-month project, which is really gonna be a 6-month project, and then we also are doing a building in Gould, it would be nice if that 6 months were part of the building project timeline also, so that we're not sequentially closing it again. So I think you, Mike, I
Right.
think was just saying that we were gonna find out if we can delay or make, if there need to be a minimal delay on utilizing these grant funds, if we could do it so that it could line up better with the building. Is that what we decided, Mike?
Yeah.
As DPT?
Yeah, the CFA money is already aging. I think it's
we
2
received-
years, 2 years already. So the contract will have a deadline, and I can double check. That's a Fiona project, so I can double check. And if you're just going for RFQ, it'll probably take a year to get spec, and then you'd have to bid it and then award a contract. So I don't know that you can hold this off for 3 years.
Well, I think, yeah, that's just the question we wanted
Yeah.
to go back to the grantor and ask, so.
And
And it can't
And
have
then
been
either way,
2
we
years.
should not, until we have the answer to this question, we should not be telling people that we're gonna miss one baseball season and only one baseball season, because we don't really know that for a fact. So let's just be very careful.
We
about
kind of
this
did know it
process.
when we met with the superintendent, so I think we had decided that the building was not gonna be built at the same time. They have to close it down another time. Isn't that what we were saying,
But
Kristen?
what superintendent?
Of
Say that again?
schools.
Why does that person have a say in
He
when
doesn't
we're?
No, no,
say
we're just-
anything.
Oh, okay.
just
We
an
were
on
trying to give
meeting,
him a
just
heads
on-
up of what we were looking at in terms of timeline based on
But,
the timelines.
He didn't have any say in it. We had, I mean, that's when it came
no, I
up.
know, but there's a kind of chicken egg problem here. It's like, we don't know when we're gonna do this because we don't have these constraints yet that have been given to us. So.
Bob, you seem to have more of a more of a handle on the time frame when we met last week, right? I thought you gave us pretty much when it was going to start, expected to start to happen.
You
I
still
can-
haven't signed a contract.
No, go ahead, let Rob answer.
Yeah, the bottom line is, we're sensitive to all these factors, they're all happening at the same time, but this is what we discussed from the engineers, and I was able to report on that. I'll provide another update, but my understanding is they were trying to minimize any disruption to baseball and/or football.
Right, but there's gonna be disruption based on when we start the building. So if we can find out whether we can do them concurrently, that'd be great. If we can't do them concurrently, then obviously we want to minimize the downtime. But if we can do them concurrently, then the thing that rules how many seasons of what sport are being missed is the longer project of the building. So we really need to find out whether we can move that grant into the future a little bit. If we can't, we'll do what we got to do, but that question needs to be answered.
I'll check. Yeah.
We can tighten up the actual schedule, because there are a lot of moving parts, and this is the best laid plans. But
Okay, well,
Point understood.
You're going to also make application back to the county for the second phase for grant funding.
Yes.
So I don't know what the timeline is for that, but that will have impact on the
Yeah,
the
The engineers
sewer
recommend
sanitary.
moving forward and getting the grant afterwards, because there is a pot of money out there for these kind of
Correct.
purposes.
Yeah.
I agree with the recommendation.
And the Pietro Gould Park, that's all part of one CFA grant. So there are other areas involved with that, and that had to do with the upstream problems that happened during the storm that impacted Wickers Creek. So we are, we have to get approvals from some private property owners. So we're moving forward, but I can get back to you in terms of a timeline on the CFA.
okay, go ahead, Rob.
Thank you. As I was mentioning, another storm drainage project to discuss is the Virginia Avenue corridor. The village engineers are finalizing their technical report for submittal to the village, including recommendations for the design of that project. The next steps include authorizing detailed engineering designs, resolving easement issues and bid documents, and seeking funding for construction to potentially begin again in the summer of 2026. And as we discussed a little bit, we touched on this during the workshop today. We have to organize all these projects so they don't all hit to the funding at the same time, because it's very, very expensive to monitor all these projects at one time and to handle, the impact on taxes, et cetera. So all these things have to be discussed in terms of timeline and budgeting. So basically, the construction estimates are forthcoming, but they're already estimating about $4 million for the construction of that drainage corridor. And another notable storm drainage project is the Walgrove Storm Drainage and repaving. Again, the village engineers are studying the design for the drainage, roadway, and sidewalk improvements along the entire length of Walgrove Avenue. Field work and survey for the study is complete. The future schedule includes a watershed analysis, system modeling and design, culminating in public bidding in the spring of next year, for construction to proceed in the summer months of 2026 to avoid conflicts with active school sessions. The report with the design recommendations and cost estimates are expected this year. So I'll follow up on that to see when we can actually receive that, because it's already the end of October. And just a couple of noteworthy completed projects, just a few. We have the Estherwood Avenue Storm Drainage Project. Gentile Construction was awarded the storm drainage replacement project at the amount of $370,000 using FEMA monies, which was secured to replace the dilapidated storm drains within the village right-of-way. So that was a completed project, and it's all fully restored with grass and trees and fences. But now it is functioning from the last rain. It's actually doing what it was designed to do. Let's see, we had the second part of the DASNY Crest grant that I was talking, is Walgrove Avenue sidewalk installation. The sidewalks along the eastern portion of Walgrove, abutting the Springhurst Elementary School, were replaced by the lowest qualified bidder, Casal Contracting. It included widened sidewalks and pedestrian ramps up to ADA standard, using a portion of the same $250,000 Crest grant through DASNY. Let's see, just two others. The Embassy Center drainage. Let's see, the computer went off, but I'll continue on my other spreadsheet. Give me 1 second.
I'll just say the exterior storm drainage pipes that were in an advanced state of disrepair were replaced, and the interior sump pump was enlarged to return the basement to a dry and usable condition for documents and storage. So that was good. And I think you spoke about the DPW solar panel replacement. That's been done.
Right, that was the last project.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that
Thank
update.
you.
Thank you, Mayor and Board.
Okay, next is public hearings. This first one's about the cable franchise. So is there a motion to open a public hearing regarding the cable franchise renewal agreement? Trustee Rosen Asher, second. Trustee Rothrock, all in favor. Public hearing is now open. Laura Lee, can you speak to this a little bit? I hate to dump it on you like that. Your partner did this.
My partner did this, yes. Dan Posen, my partner at McCarthy Fingar, represents a consortium of communities in terms of negotiating franchise agreements with the cable company. And he spoke to the Verizon people. As you know, the franchise agreement expired a number of years ago, and so this is the new franchise agreement by which you get franchise fees under the cable franchise, standard cable franchise. Trustee Rosenberg had requested some additional information to see if you could also dovetail with some extra work regarding the problems with the cell service. There was a series of emails in response to that, which talked about that they're two separate entities and that they would pass along the information to the actual representative for the cell service. And as your administrator has indicated, Verizon is looking for locations, rooftop locations and other locations to fill the gap in the coverage on the cell side. But this deals exclusively with the franchise agreement for the Verizon cables, so.
Okay, so maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you may be looking at it for the first time, but we are going to receive a $10,000 PEG capital grant from Verizon, I believe, which enables us, and maybe I'm wrong on this, I think they're allowing us public access to our cable TV, where we get 2 or 3, or maybe it's 1 or 2 public access TV stations.
Yes.
Which we should be using. I don't think we really are, Rob.
Know that you
So we
are.
should look into that, and we should be doing that. And I think as, also part of the arrangement is that we get free cable service, I should say provided cable service from Verizon to Village Hall, the library, the embassy, the ambulance building, DPW, Gould Park, I don't know where on Gould Park, but in Gould Park, Ogden Firehouse.
Jumbotron.
Well, I think that was because you had a building there.
Right, I know. Ogden Firehouse, Springhurst, the middle school, and the high school, so that's included in that. as part of,
Is that internet or is that just cable television?
I think it's just cable.
Cable television.
Cable.
Most communities in Westchester have cable television stations. We used to have one
Yeah,
here.
I know.
And it was like at the high school, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So we should look into that because it's part of the agreement. And I believe we also receive, by law, it's set by 5%. So I think it's 5% of the income from the cable.
From the
fees,
subscriptions, yeah.
Subscription fees. I think that's set by law. It's
And I
federal law.
think you used the PEG money the last time to do the upgrades in this in terms of your cameras and in the back, your operations room. You have used PEG money for upgrades in the past.
Right, that also comes from Altice, which used to be Cablevision.
Yes.
So those are two different things, but yes, you're right, we do get that. So that's the basics of the agreement, and does the board have any questions or comments?
Well, I had sent, in response to Dan's note about the response from FiOS being that, you know, they were a different entity than Verizon Wireless, which I accept, although I think it's kind of absurd since they're both under the same corporate overlords. I understand that they won't do that. There was another piece of that, which was, could then FiOS, which is also an ISP, provide hotspots in the downtown, which I'm not sure was asked or answered. I also wrote to Dan after that, asking whether he might be able to negotiate for Verizon removing dead wires from the downtown. I did not hear back from Dan, or wrote that note about a week ago or so. Haven't heard back on that. There are things that I'm sure that Verizon Cable can do that would benefit the village and not cost them much or anything. The dead wires are a big issue for a lot of people in the village, as you know. And setting up hotspots, which should be within an ISP's ability to do, would help with the bandwidth issue in the downtown, specifically around Park Mobile. So I really would like to understand whether Dan has floated that with them and gotten an answer before voting on this.
Okay, so we can certainly put it over, so no big rush on it. So does anybody on the board have any other questions or comments?
It's my understanding that this is just a very standard public access television thing that is common in almost every single municipality. And some municipalities like Mamaroneck have LMC TV, which actually has a state-of-the-art studio, and they allow people to have their own programming. Greenberg has one. So this is, I mean, just because I've worked with all of the local municipalities on their franchise agreements.
Is this something that Verizon is eager to resolve with us and wants to work with us on things like Trustee Rosenberg is talking about? Or is it, who benefits from us signing this faster, is my question, I guess.
Well, we make money on
Exactly.
this.
So I just want to be clear.
We're
Is
making
it
money still under
Yeah,
the old
they're paying
agreement,
under the
though.
old agreement.
right?
They have been, Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, they have been still paying under the old agreement, which expired 10 years ago. And I
Since
don't,
we have their ear, it's a good time to still ask.
I don't know
I'm
if
trying
they
to make sure
will,
that we're not like
I don't,
bring ourselves by delaying.
I don't know how long they'll continue to do that. I don't know if the franchise fees under this match the franchise fees under the old one. I have been keeping a wide berth on this because it is, you know, Dan's client, which is the consortium. So I'm just texting him now to indicate that you're considering adjourning until we talk about the hotspots and the unused wires.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody from the public who wants to speak about this? Come on up.
It's about Verizon.
Bob, we're talking about the Verizon agreement today.
Bob Radomski, Ogden Avenue. Two issues you might want to think about before you sign an agreement with Verizon. You're right on the wires. There's a lot of abandoned and dead wires in that area, and they could be cleaned up. But coming down Ashford Avenue from Ogden Avenue to Broadway, there's 14 double poles. And there's a reason for that. Con Ed puts a new pole up, transfers their wires, and cuts it down past the bottom of their wires. Like the other cable companies and telephone companies are supposed to transfer their wires to that new pole and remove the old pole. You may want to look at that also and make sure they do that, okay? Now, this is off that. This is to your question about the 285,000 square foot building, okay? 30,000 is a football field, so that would make 9.5 football fields.
Wow, okay. And to go back, I have reached out to Verizon about the double poles before, but we could follow up on that, but,
They're supposed to transfer to them.
right.
And the last person off the pole is supposed to remove that pole or cut it flush.
Con Ed is involved also on those polls.
Okay, anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna just adjourn this to the next meeting. So do I need a motion on that?
Yes, you need a motion to adjourn to a date certain.
Is there? That motion. Trustee Rosenberg made it, second to trustee Galen. We're adjourning it to November
We're all voting though.
18th. Is there a, all in favor? Yes.
Thank
The second public hearing is regarding the tree preservation provision to the zoning chapter of the Dobbs Ferry Village Code. So is there a motion to open that public hearing? Trustee Patino, second. Trustee Rothrock, all in favor? Public hearing is now open. I'm going to ask trustee Patino to give us a quick overview of it, how this law has been changed, and what the process has been.
It is in the resolution, details, whereas.
I was just going to give a
Off the cuff.
qualitative version of this, because everyone can read this. We implemented a tree law a 3 years ago that had as its basic premise that if you removed a tree, you had to put back a certain amount based on how much removal you were doing. There were some other aspects of it. After a couple of years of observing how that has played out, the Tree Commission and the CAB have made some recommendations along with the building department, work closely with the building department, on this to modify this tree law slightly and address a number of loopholes or other ways in which residents have been not following the spirit of this law. There are a couple of components to that. One is to reduce the size of a tree that is removed that needs replacement from an 8-inch diameter, and that's called breast height. That's your height at your about 4 or 5 feet off the ground, from an 8-inch diameter to a 6-inch diameter. It also allows replanting of not just trees, but also certain types of shrubs. It just turned out that not every people want to replant on their property. They can't always because the tree won't grow because of other trees, but shrubs can, so that's a kind of nice element to it. I will say that this was on, and then there's a number of other kind of important clarifications. Just, the first time we draft a law, sometimes we miss some things, so Laura Lee has gone back and addressed this in a number of ways. This was on for public hearing over the summer. We had a petition from Mr. Coulihan and some other residents that some frustrations that they saw with the existing tree law and the proposed changes. We made a number of changes to that original proposal, so much so that we had to take it off the public hearing. It wasn't, we can make minor changes. This was substantive changes, and so we had to remove it from public hearing and renotice and start again. I believe that we addressed the community's questions or concerns really about how to contend with emergency trees. So the example or an example that Mr. Coulihan used was a storm that produced a large number of downed trees. or an incident when a tree came down and in an opportune time, over holidays, how would someone go ahead, remove that tree, and not get in trouble with the village? And so there's a section that we've added here since the last iteration of this that addresses that. It allows a resident to photograph the tree. I would say, just for your benefit, it's, I just want to get the exact number, that's 300-51-I. So I'll read that. There's two components to it. Emergency removal shall be permitted for a downed tree, uprooted tree, or other qualifying hazardous tree defined elsewhere, which also presents a significant and imminent risk of injury to the public or damage to property. I think that was one of the main concerns. Well, you'll have a moment if you want. And then section B, within 5 days of an emergency tree removal, property owner must submit an application providing photographic and any other evidence of the condition which provided the basis for emergency removal. For a downed or uprooted tree, photographic images of the root or trunk must be included among the evidence. And it goes on a little bit. So my understanding is that we address the petition's primary concerns, but let's hear from them today, because that was why we did this. That's why we're here again for this.
Right. Anybody from the board have any comments or questions before we go to the public?
Is there anyone from the, or we can do this later, also from the CAB or Tree Commission online maybe, or in the room, who wants to talk about the kind of framing of why, or Trustee Patino, if if they're not available, kind of like why this tree code was brought to the board, why we have this in the first place, and kind of what led to the development of this set of policies that are now being revised slightly because it's been a few years and we're looking at, strengthening or improving what we've learned from the first few years of implementation. Like what was the initial reason to add this to the village code?
Why have why, okay, I mean,
my understanding.
The broad question you're asking is why protect natural resources? And I think that I don't know, I won't speak for everyone, but the idea is that we would do everything we can to protect the natural resources in the village. And one of the most important ones we have are trees. We had this whole report about stormwater problems. A lot of stormwater problems are mitigated by healthy forests, healthy trees. We were seeing a large number of applications at every tree commission hearing for removals. Most of those removals had nothing to do with site plan changes. We just got a lot of them. As a way to discourage the removals, you can still remove a tree. It's your property. You want to remove a tree, that's fine. But as a way to discourage people from doing that and to keep as many trees in the village as possible, we implemented this penalty. So if you remove a tree, if you have a good reason for it, you've got to replace them elsewhere on your property. If you don't have the room for that, you can pay into the fund, and the village board decides where to replant those trees somewhere else, sidewalks, parks, and other village properties. So that's the simple reason why we thought it was an important piece of legislation. It's fairly common in our region to see this sort of thing. We looked at all sorts of other tree codes. They range from, some communities require you to replace 100% of what you remove. Some are a little bit more lenient. Ours is on the lenient side, somewhere in the middle. As to why we are modifying it, like all good stewards of zoning, when you implement a new law, you see how it works, and you make minor adjustments so that it better serves the community. And I think in this case, the tree commission, the building department, the CAB have watched, have followed this closely because they were very much involved, and it's really important to them and to a lot of us. And they've made some minor recommendations as it had to improve it. I think the other part of this, and a lot of the underlying verbiage, is our village attorney saying, our first pass at this missed some clarity. And so most of what you see as underlined in here is clarification, tightening up definitions, organizing it so it's more logical. But the true difference between the 2022 or 2023 tree code and this one are the ones I identified. Size of tree, type of replacements, and then more recently, how to contend with emergency down trees.
Okay. Anybody from the public want to speak on this? Come on up.
Good evening, Mayor and the Village Board. My name is Vincent Coulahan, 27 Allen Street, Dobbs Ferry. Mike, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm also speaking, previously I submitted a petition with over 100 signatures, and since then, dozens more people have expressed similar sentiments that they're really concerned about this. I know what you just said, but how do you explain if a tree just comes down on the side of my property? It just comes down, not during a storm. How does this work? Because to me, I read this, it doesn't work. I know there was a point where you said, and in there it says, take a picture, send it to the building department. That could work. But when the verbiage, and maybe the lawyer can look, when you talk about public, how about private property? Does that public term apply to private property in this word? So that's just a question you don't have to answer right now, but it's an important concern. Again, it also introduced, I also just ask, how does this improve the quality of life without being a burden? Simple, just keep it simple. A tree comes down, it's dead. Can't do CPR on it, it's dead. It's on the side of my house, but I want to remove it. That's a burden to me. Now, if you have to go through this, it just doesn't make sense.
Can I answer you? Or are you going to go, you have other points?
No,
Or
go right ahead.
Yeah, and if you have other points, I want to just give him a little more time if it's on the clock. So your point was something that was overlooked in the last draft of this and the last public hearing, which is why we put that aside. And the intention, and I believe it's here, but let's just get that clarified, because I wrote a draft of this and our village attorney did a slightly different version. So here's what I understand. If a tree, a fallen tree, represents imminent risk or injury to the public, that's anyone.
I just want to make sure you're clear on that, because
Or damage to property. It doesn't just have to be a risk. It can be a risk to your vehicle, your home,
my grandchildren.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, well, the public, by public, we mean the people. So the question for us is, how do we protect people and property in exactly the way you said? And it doesn't have to be a storm. It could just be a Tuesday. And the tree comes down. Why should you have to spend $500 to have an arborist write you a letter that says the tree's dead when obviously it's lying on its side? And so the way to address that is so that you can get out your chainsaw, you can cut that tree up, you can create firewood out of it or do whatever you want with it.
I'll take a picture
You take a picture of it, take a picture of the trunk, right?
First.
You take a picture and you send that to the building department on Thursday and say, look, I had a tree down, here's a photo, just want you to have a record of it. And that is my understanding of the extent of a person in that situation, the extent of their burden, which, is it nothing? It's not nothing, but is it burdensome? I would argue no.
It's burdensome if I have to go through the entire route of permitting.
You don't.
Right.
No.
That's, please, I'm sorry, I'm maybe slow at this, but I just want to be sure for clarity that a tree, and again, a tree just comes down on the side of my house, doesn't damage my home, but imposes I'll just say an axis around my house, and my young grandchildren can be running around and they can poke themselves in the eye with a down tree. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
really is not a good thing.
So a down tree is a risk to public, to the
Okay.
public. That's my opinion, and I
just wanna make
believe
sure
that's how
that's-
we worded it, and so that would, it doesn't have to be, sitting on top of your house, it doesn't
Right.
have to be, have hurt someone, it's just in the way, and that's a danger.
Okay.
And even, I would assume, you know, let's say you had an acre of wonderful open field with one tree in the middle that comes down. If that tree comes down, then that's still damaging your property.
Right.
So,
Again, I just, for this way this is up, for clarity for the rest, for the village, not the citizens, I just want to make
I was
sure.
clarifying that with.
Okay, and I appreciate
I
that.
was asking on also to extend your, you know,
Okay,
your danger question.
okay, so my understanding is that it's to that point, that we are covered. So a tree comes down Friday afternoon at 5:45 on the side of my house. I take a picture of it, I send it to Danny, who's not here. And I can cut it up for firewood for my neighbor.
You don't have to wait till Monday.
Right, no,
You
that's
just
the
do
point.
it, but you take a
Okay.
picture, you know, obviously,
Okay.
before you cut it up. right?
Thank you.
I
And-
think
and
that your
they'll-
point is clear and taken, that the goal would be for us to communicate that our new code is saying, if a tree comes down, take a picture.
No, that's clear, and that's,
Like,
it's,
that's like the thing. Instead of a tree comes down, you cut it up, you tell Dan, oh no, it totally fell down on its own, and then we just have to believe you.
no, the
We're
thing,
just
and that's a
saying,
good thing
please
is when you take a
document it.
picture of the metadata, we'll tell you the date and time, which is good.
Ooh.
See that? Even on your
Well, that's something that you
iPhone,
set your
I can tell you that
camera
right now,
properly.
because I take a lot of pictures, and the data's there.
And the reason why it says the permit, it just is, so you can attach your photos to something, so they know your name, your address, where it happened, how it went down.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
all the permit is, just for record keeping.
No, I get it.
And how
All
many
right.
times you use the same photograph?
Depends. Trees
And
trees
whether
don't grow
it's
that fast,
AI
but thank you.
generated,
Okay, just thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for the clarification.
all covered.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
thanks for the feedback, and thanks to everyone who got involved in your petition and, you know, brought a reasonable complaint about this to us, so.
Hello, I'm Laura Lawden. I live at 85 Myrtle Avenue. I also spoke at the last time this came up for review.
Could you speak into the mic,
Oh,
please?
yeah,
I can't hear
sorry.
you.
Usually I
name
don't have any
again?
problem.
Did you get her name, Laura?
No.
Can you say your name again?
Laura Lawden
Thank
at
you.
85 Myrtle.
I'm Jesse Lawden, also at 85 Myrtle.
I guess we're a double act tonight.
That works out great.
We spoke at the last review of this, and we are very appreciative of the town's efforts in this direction, because we agree that, you know, environmental preservation, preservation of natural resources is a wonderful undertaking. We appreciate how much the town has done to date. And we definitely appreciate the updates that have been made to the last time we saw this policy. I had a couple of questions that I'd like some clarification on, because particularly around the replanting agreement, I am curious where it says under 351G, it says a replanting agreement for the replacement of 50% of the total aggregate diameter of trees proposed for removal, as regulated under this article, in accordance with tree valuation criteria, is required for any tree removal permit. Does that also apply to emergency tree removal permits?
You mean if multiple trees come down?
So if a tree comes down and under the emergency tree removal criteria, I send you a picture, you know, the tree fell, root ball, am I responsible for
No.
replanting? Okay, is that, I don't see that specified anywhere in here.
It is in here, it's circular, because it.
It might be in the other areas of the
Defined.
code that are not being.
Hold on, sorry. It's a valid point. Something that it was part of the initial tree code, and it's not changed here, which is that there is no replanting for a dead, dying, or emergency tree removal. I'm just going to find the section, sorry.
This local law just covers the areas that are being revised, so that's maybe what if.
Not be in there.
What if.
No,
The issue is that it says any tree removal permit, and elsewhere in this text that we have here, it refers to an emergency tree removal permit as a kind of permit, so.
It is.
Right, so I think that colloquially, the phrase "any tree removal permit" would include the emergency, but we're now saying colloquially that emergency trees are not covered, so maybe we just need to look at the word "any," and refine.
In the existing code that we're not revising, or in this?
300-51G.2, it says that,
Sorry, I don't have my computer tonight.
Just bear with me a moment. So
it said,
I don't need the local law, if
in-
it's elsewhere in the code already that's not being revised, it wouldn't be in the local law.
right.
yeah,
But the
so,
word-
so
I'm
we
sorry.
are, so, yeah, what's on our packet and our agenda for tonight are specific modifications. That, what you're describing has never been a requirement, so it's never been a requirement to replace with 50% anything defined as a hazardous tree, which, you know, has a number of different ways that can be approached. So if you could have a tree that's not a threat, but is a dead tree and you need to have removed, that doesn't qualify for replacement.
Okay.
And what we just talked about with Mr. Coolahan is a totally separate issue. That
Yeah,
also
we're
doesn't
clear on that,
apply
and-
for replanting.
Right. The language in this it conflicts. I understand the updates that you made to the emergency tree removal section that Mr. Coolahan commented on. My question is, in the language around 351C, allowable activities, where everything has been struck out except for a tree removal permit is not required for routine pruning or trimming of a tree to maintain health and natural habit. Great. Underneath that, in 351E, tree removal activities requiring an administrative tree removal permit. I guess it's Article 1, Section B, I don't know. Removal of any protected tree that has been found to be dead, dying, insect infested, or otherwise hazardous as determined in writing by a certified arborist. So if it's a dead tree that's not an imminent hazard, because elsewhere in these codes, you say that if the tree is stable, dead or dying but stable, that does not qualify for an emergency removal permit. Is that then also subject to replanting?
No.
No.
Okay. Are you guys, can you clarify
It
that?
says that in the portion of the code that is not being revised. So this only covers the revisions. So the law will stand as it was originally adopted.
So the issue, can I just take a crack at this? The issue is it says in the text that was in the initial, I guess in the initial code, any tree removal permit in reference to the 50% replanting. So we need to, I think, just clarify for humans who are not professional code readers, like it is not actually required for any tree removal permit, because there are things that we're calling tree removal permits in this code that are not subject to the 50% replanting. So we just need to clarify, like, it's those 4 words, any tree removal permit, we just need to revise that to say required for any tree removal permit, or define what tree removal permits do require that, I think would be probably the most helpful thing. So required for tree removal permits that are trees that are not imminently hazardous, that have a DBH of at least 6 inches, whatever those criteria are that are subject to the replanting, that should be in here rather than saying any tree removal permit, which indicates to people who don't know how to, like most people who aren't like kind of reading through every single word of a code every time they want to remove a tree, that like you read this and you think, I am taking out an emergency, I'm
But
Mr.
can I interrupt you for
Yeah.
a second? I think you're assuming that a resident has to fully understand this. No, but let me clarify. What, like, even a professional who reads the code still goes and has a determination by the code enforcement officer, or, goes before the tree commission. So what happens if you have what's considered a hazardous tree, but not an imminent danger of falling? So you have 6 of them, and you have your arborist come, they assess those trees, they report on those trees, and then you submit an application to the building department. That goes before the tree commission, and the tree commission does not assess a penalty, either does not require you to replace or assess a monetary penalty, because that is what's in the code, and they understand that. So it's not, a resident, I mean, the resident's here asking a question, so I'm answering it. But the way that all this gets assessed is through the building department and the tree commission. And they understand which trees get.
I actually understand your point on this as well, and that it's going to be decided by people who do know the code inside and out. So that's actually not what I'm concerned about. The
Okay.
point of having language like this is like, I think it would be helpful to clarify wherever possible, because if the point of this policy is to close loopholes and make it feel a little bit more accessible for people who don't know the town code, not to look at this and think, oh my God, like, look at all the hoops I have to jump through to take down a tree. If we want to make sure that when people are taking down trees, they're doing it for the right reasons and they're complying by the laws, making this language as accessible and also, like, I think consistent as possible would be great. I'm pretty good at reading a contract. This is very confusing to me.
I think we should clarify it also, this way it's in the contract. On the face of it, you can read it in the statute.
Because the prior version of it that you're amending did require the removal of trees that had been found to be dead or fallen. So you're actually changing it in a way that which had been clearly stated as not applicable in this matter might now be interpreted as being applicable.
Okay, so Laura Lee, if we were to add a phrase or two to clarify it, would we have to re-notice this public hearing?
No, it doesn't sound it's substantive. It sounds like it's clarification.
Okay.
So if you wanted to, hate to do this to you, adjourn, and so I can, because it's in your zoning code, it needs to be in your hands with enough time, literally in your hands under the law.
Right.
With enough time for you to actually take action on
Okay.
it. So if you want to take
Can
action.
I ask you to email us exact language that you think would be appropriate?
Absolutely.
We're not going to pay you for it.
That's totally fine.
I'm
And then we'll review it with the attorney and the board, and then we'll see how it works.
I want to say that this is a legit question. We know how this is handled.
Right.
I responded to that. To put this off again for an issue that has clarity in the code, and the building codes are complicated and messy. They are not like legal codes in that sense of the word. And so it's not the expectation that everyone should be able to quickly browse a section of code and understand all of its implications.
Why would you say that the building code should not be as clear as the legal code?
It just
Why?
isn't. It's just my experience. I read the building codes all over the place. They're
Shouldn't it be?
messy.
Shouldn't it strive to be?
It's just, what I'm saying is that we had a question.
Right.
That question has been clarified. It is already in the code.
It's just not in these pages that the.
Well, let me just ask that to the lawyer.
I just don't see how we're gonna
Laura
get
Lee.
that much more clarity here.
Laura Lee.
We're just kicking this down the can because.
Okay,
down-
well, let me
down
just
the
see
can.
what-
Rob has.
What does the village
Rob
attorney
has
have to say?
loaned me his provisions. So you're suggesting,
You being who, the resident who's speaking now, or
No,
the
you-
trustee who's speaking?
in response to the resident speaking, you're suggesting that we should clarify the new provision like a belts and suspenders with a phrase that's already elsewhere in.
So where is it elsewhere in the code?
Yeah, I think that's the question.
Right, where is it elsewhere
Where
in
is
the
it
code?
elsewhere in the code?
That I'm still not clear myself on what the problem is.
Okay, I think I got it.
I have it in
Okay.
front of me. If you
Okay.
could tell me.
I think I figured out what the issue is. So this is, okay.
What
So-
section?
I'm gonna take the thing I said before, 300-51G, point 2, I think is the tree evaluation is what's required for any tree removal permit, not a replanting agreement, tree valuation,
Correct.
not replanting. Tree valuation is some other thing in some other section. So I think what this is saying is replanting has to happen in accordance with the criteria of tree valuation. And all trees all trees that are being sought, all trees for which permits are sought have to be undergo this tree valuation process?
No, actually, the language that are required for any tree removal permit is tied to the replanting agreement. The tree valuation criteria is a modifying phrase. Sorry, guys.
So is your question that it's not clear that if the tree is dead or down, that you don't have to replace it?
Yeah, right now, any tree removal
Right, so
permit, if you're
that's-
reading through this casually,
So
suggests
if
that
there's
it's
somewhere else in the code where it says, if the tree is dead or was felled by a storm or
There's a
whatever,
missing
it doesn't
period.
have to be replaced.
There's literally a missing period. So before J, or, yeah, after J, tree valuation criteria, see section 300-51J, period. Or, sorry. That's
true.
Right?
Well,
Tree-
Accordance with tree valuation
And then,
criteria,
and then,
period.
and the new sentence, tree
Yeah.
valuation is
Tree
required for
valuation
any,
is required for any,
But then tree valuation is in parens.
yeah.
yes, and also remove that parens.
But yes, I think our concern is that, that it seems unclear to us reading this and trying to understand the tree code, whether downed trees or dead trees require replacement.
I think
There has never been, there's never been, the tree commission and the building department does not require fees or replanting for those. If you go to the tree commission meeting, that's not how it happens. So
Correct, but
I
you're
understand.
amending with the allowable activities to remove those as allowable activities. So now it would be required.
Did you at any
You're
point?
right. You're right, they're right, they're still right.
I don't agree.
I really is, Laura Lee, you don't have the local law in front of you to,
A replanting agreement is required for any tree removal permit, is what this basically says. A replanting agreement for replacement of 50% of the total aggregate diameter is required for any tree removal permit. If you take out all the modifiers, that is what the sentence says. But it's not the case that it's required for any tree removal permit. It's only required for the tree removal permits that are subject to replacement. So all we need to do is add any tree removal permit that is subject to 50% replacement. Because any tree removal permit indicates any tree removal permit, which would include a bunch of permit types that are not subject to the 50% replanting, right? I'm not saying that building codes need to be perfectly legible to non-professionals, but I do think that if we can very swiftly and in this meeting fix this so that it is not intrinsically contradictory to itself, then that seems worth doing, and we can probably do that right now and vote on it tonight.
so make your proposal again.
So
I think Lori Lee should,
Wait, let her make it and see if Laura Lee's in agreement with it. So go ahead.
hold on a second. Lori Lee, do you have the section in front of you?
I have the local law in front of me, and I have the existing code in front of me. Rob has loaned me
Thing
his.
that's in the backup. Oh, we're all looking at the thing in the backup. That is 351G, previously F, 2, a replanting agreement, ... is in
So
the
new,
backup for all of
the
us.
new provision G.
Yes.
Yes.
2,
Number
A
2.
replanting agreement for the
that
replacement.
very long sentence, which is half of that, point 2, currently ends, is required for any tree removal permit. What we are suggesting is required for any tree removal permit requiring tree replacement. Add those 3 words.
Do you know whether it requires replacement before you do the tree valuation? I'm sorry to raise my voice, but this is the tree valuation process the thing that determines whether a
No.
tree needs to be removed?
No.
Okay, then
They're
carry on.
independent. The valuation happens after it's approved to be removed.
Okay. Good.
Does that make sense, Lori
Then I
Lee?
didn't mess anything up.
So if we say, and the existing code says tree valuation is required for any tree removal permit. What you would like clarified in that sentence is, except as otherwise indicated herein.
Sure.
Because the emergency tree, the down tree, that's not required. Or you could say,
Or just say what the
any
options are,
tree
not the
removal
opt-outs.
permit subject to review by the tree commission.
That sounds simple enough.
Yep.
But we've said in the code that a whole bunch of, I mean, you could say as determined by the tree commission, but is
No,
required.
if it's not going to the tree commission, if it's an emergency or hazardous removal.
That's what I'm
All of
saying.
these removals are now required to go to the tree commission.
No, it's
No,
not.
not the photographic ones.
No, you
Not
just,
emergency.
we just amended it for Mr. Coulihan in his petition. We amended it to say, these just need after the fact
Yes. no,
informational.
That's correct. My question was actually about non-emergency tree removal, which is why I referenced elsewhere in this code, you specify that emergency tree removal does not apply if it is a dead, dying, or diseased tree that is stable. So my question is around that, and my reason for this is because while I do completely understand the position that this is going to be decided on by people who know the code inside and out, this has been a relatively high-profile policy that's been discussed by a lot of people in the town who clearly do not understand it. And if the goal of it is to close the loopholes that are causing people to remove trees illegally, the easier we can make it for them to understand that they won't be penalized or that they won't be subject to things like replanting agreements, I think the
Yeah,
better it is for
I
everyone.
understand that. There's another component of this, which is, this is part of the loophole problem intended to get fixed here, is that non-emergency trees that are, there are many arborists out there of questionable professional ethics. And so there is a site visit conducted by members of the tree commission for those types of applications. So if I say I have 4 dying trees I want to remove, the tree commission will go look at those, and there is a certified arborist on the tree commission. He is part of all those site visits, and they make a judgment as to whether the arborist's determination is legitimate or not. And so there is a gray area that your questions raise about this, and that's why there is some, that's why the valuation happens through the tree commission.
Okay, so Lori Lee.
Can you
Is there
just,
a
Lori Lee.
phrase?
I'm listening.
Okay,
Is there anything-
So
With my ears.
the thing that just had that makes sense to me, because there's 2 instances that we're talking about. There's the emergency ones, and then there's the dead ones that do require somebody to look at them because they have to say they're dead. They don't then have to replant for those trees. So.
are those the 2 categories? Is that it?
I don't know,
I'm
but
asking.
the point would be that the replanting agreement is required for any tree removal permit that requires a replanting agreement.
Yes.
It's like premeditated, you want to take the tree down or you don't want to take the tree down. If you're making the decision to want to remove a healthy tree or a dead tree, is that?
Nope.
No,
it's
it's
not
saying.
premeditated.
I'm saying, does that make
Certified
sense
that
to you,
it's
Lori
dead.
Lee? Could we revise that right now? Could that be, I want her to answer before anyone else.
I'm just sighing.
Does that make sense, Lori Lee?
Is required for any tree removal permit.
That requires replanting,
That would require.
the replanting agreement.
Thus sort of making this entire sentence unnecessary.
Trustee Patino, does that make sense to you? Because you sit with the tree commission, so.
We're saying what the replanting agreement is. That's the whole purpose of this. I mean, we could just take out anything about the tree removal permit. We're just
Or
talking
just,
about what it
you know,
is.
define the term replanting agreement. That's
Right.
also-
Like, the point is that we're trying to define what you have to replant, when you have to replant something. We want to make it clear that you only have to replant something based on something that's not even in this sentence. Like, this sentence is only about what you have to replant. So the simpler we can make that, and not refer to an ambiguous amount of things that this is applying to. Can we just all agree that you will make this more clear, that it's not applying to any tree removal permit, and we can approve this to move
I
on?
don't see how you could approve it without having it written, knowing it.
If you can just add,
Just I don't know how to do this.
Well, she
I'm
has a
not like a
suggestion, so
lawyer.
let's hear it.
if you can just add any tree removal permit requiring a replanting agreement.
Right.
You've solved the problem.
It's circular.
I think so,
A
too.
replanting agreement
It's
will be
circular, but it
required
lets
for
us
the
vote on
things
it
that don't-
tonight.
Say that again.
It's circular, but it lets us vote on it tonight.
A replanting agreement is required for any tree removal permit requiring a replanting agreement.
That's right.
It's just the stuff in the middle is what it's here for, it's the replacement of 50% of the total aggregate, blah, 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 blah.
That doesn't sound right.
If the point of this sentence is
Okay,
just to
there's a-
define the replanting
There's a
agreement,
way to
then
make it
take
not
out everything
circular.
else.
There's a way to make it not circular. A replanting agreement is required for any permit that would require replanting of trees. Then the word agreement, the noun in it is not referred to at the beginning and the end, and that is grammatically acceptable
Okay, say it one more time.
to me.
Say it one more time if you can remember.
And here's why the building and zoning code is so confusing.
But it doesn't have to be if you
Can do
just.
better.
Say it again,
We
Matt.
can fix it tonight.
A
and still vote on
replanting
it.
agreement.
Blah, 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 blah,
A
blah.
replanting agreement shall be required for any permit that requires the replanting of trees.
Right.
That says, if you're requiring
can be
replanting
bushes.
trees,
It can be
there needs to
bushes.
be an agreement.
But that requires replanting.
It's the agreement that is necessary if trees are required to be replanted.
Or
If
something.
anything is.
Laura Lee, what do you think?
I have a replanting agreement, blah, 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 is required for any tree removal permit that would require the replanting of trees.
Or something. Planting.
Replanting of vegetation.
Yes.
In the other parts of the code, it does tell you what
You can
trees
plant
require
shrubs.
replanting, right? Right?
Yes,
There's a, yes.
right there, in it, in that sentence,
Yes,
in that
that's all we
sentence, it
needed.
says shrubs.
That's the best
Did
we
it.
can do, okay? Got it.
Thank
you, Lulu.
Thank you.
Proposed for removal as regulated under this article with.
Anybody else?
Appropriate, wait,
That got a clap, not a snap.
Okay, I'm going to take a motion to close the
wait,
public.
wait,
I can still close the public hearing.
no, it's so hot.
I know.
No, I have to read it before you close, so
Okay, go ahead.
I don't want this to come up when we,
Go ahead.
okay? A replanting agreement for the replacement, blah, 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 is required for any tree removal permit that would require the replanting of trees or other appropriate vegetation.
Yep,
Yes.
approved.
Okay. Is there a motion to close tonight's public hearing?
Anybody else?
Trustee Rosen Asher,
Oh,
second.
wait, is there anyone
Trustee
online?
Rothrock.
Did we ask?
I already
Where?
asked.
Oh, we did. Okay. Just wanna make
All in favor? Matt, we need your vote. Now we're voting on the law itself, right?
sure. Didn't hear who
Do I
said.
have that?
Wait, did you voted to close?
Laura Rothrock. I did vote, we voted to close.
Okay,
Now, is there a motion to approve
make it happen.
the local law to revise the text of the tree preservation provisions in the zoning chapter of the Dobbs Ferry Village Code? Is there a motion
As revised.
as revised? Trustee Patino. And because Matt put in some.
Oh, he can say, come
yeah.
on.
Trustee Rosenberg, seconded. All in favor?
Did I not get to 95% away?
No, you didn't.
All in favor? That's unanimous. Thank you, everyone. That's how this is supposed to work, only a lot quicker. Okay, now we're on to, so we're done with that. If you guys want to leave, because we're done with the trees, now's the time to leave. Courtesy of the floor, who's here to talk about courtesy of the floor? I think Donna Cassell, former deputy mayor, come on up.
And thank you for sitting through another one of these. You quit for a reason, we know.
Now you know why I retired. Donna Cassell, 7 Ogden Place. I'm here on behalf of the Senior Advocacy Council and the senior program on Dobbs Ferry. You are going to be looking at changing the Palisade parking situation. This came up before the Senior Advocacy Council with many complaints coming from our seniors who would often come to our events and couldn't find parking, so they had to leave. You also have to understand the conditions on Palisades. We'll get to the parking issue in a second. Palisades, the Embassy Center is the home of the senior program, which is located on Palisade Street. Palisade Street is a continuous, steep hill almost the entire length. Seniors cannot walk those hills. They need parking within a convenient distance of the center itself. They brought the issues to the SAC committee, and we sat with Chief Guevara, Lieutenant Colvin, to discuss various options. We realized that many of the spaces near to the center are part of the 12-hour zone for Park Mobile. Now, that 12-hour zone was created many years ago because people without permits could not park at Waterfront Park, and we wanted to afford other commuters who couldn't afford the permit or from other parts of the area to park and use Waterfront or use the train station. Now that we have Park Mobile, there's no need for a 12-hour zone on Palisade Street. There is ample parking down at the train station to absorb however many things there are, but we need the additional spaces on Palisade Street. Additionally, it's not just for the seniors. You were talking about the splash pad that's coming in. Now you're going to have people with small children trying to find parking in that area. It's going to get more congested with that, and the senior program is expanding. I mean, we are like the premier senior center in the whole area, and the program is expanding. There'll be more and more seniors coming, but basically, we need more parking on Palisade Street for the seniors, also for the splash pad that's coming in, and God knows what we're going to do when the pickleball courts arrive. But
You're going to play pickleball.
we're going to play pickleball. But again, the idea is to open more parking on Palisade Street so the SAC Council came to.
Donna!
Okay.
Donna!
I've got a bunch of people here from the center who are not going to talk.
Donna, you can talk. Go ahead.
It's on the agenda,
We
you
owe
know that, right?
Donna, we owe this to you. Go ahead.
Thank you. But anyway, I forgot where I was. But they came to the SAC Council, and as I said, a number of them were very upset. Other people from the center, they're over there, were going to talk, but we decided because of the length of this thing, I was the only one.
We appreciate that very much.
I figured that.
Thank you.
Also, there'll be a lot more seniors here tonight, but they can't drive at night.
The revision is on the agenda, you know that.
I know that,
Okay.
so I am here to thank the board for putting it on the agenda. Hopefully, you will all vote for it. I also want to thank Trustee Rosenberg, because I went to him as the liaison to the traffic committee, and he brought it to the board. So thank you. Thank you for, putting it on the agenda, and I'm just urging you all to vote for it.
Thank you, Donna. This is one of this was a law that, this happened very quickly. This was not something that took months and months and months to do, unlike other things. So this was done very quickly because we saw that it made sense. So anybody else want to speak to that issue? Come on up. You've waited so long. Come on up. Come on up.
You have to be at the
Come on up.
microphone or the mic.
You have to go to the mic. You have to tell us who you are, where you live.
Martina Bengay.
Go to the microphone. Speak in the microphone.
Martina Bengay. I live in Dobbs Ferry. I'm 86 years old, and sometimes when you go down to have your exercise, you have to park 2 and 3 blocks away. It's tough. So I think that we should have a lot of spaces where we can park every morning so that we can do our exercises and have lunch.
Thank you. You're
Thank
right.
you.
Good point. Anybody else want to speak? Wait, I want to just finish this issue. Anybody else on this issue? Wait, I want to see if we finish this issue. Anybody else on this issue? Okay, Bob, come on up.
Bob Rudomsky, Ogden Avenue. I got your little flyer. I have an issue with the bottom line.
What?
I bought my house 53 years ago. Pre-Walden Wood, Hunter's Run, the DPW, and Rivertown Square. My son and daughter graduated Dobbs Ferry School System over 30 years ago. Ask any long-term resident about all their new residents, and their answer is always the same. They're only here until their kids graduate our school system. Personally, I don't blame anybody for wanting a good education in a safe area to raise their kids. But remember why you picked Dobbs Ferry, and don't try to change it to fit your personal needs or vision while you're here. And leave it the way you found it, a safe and welcoming village to raise your kids.
Thank you, Bob.
I'm not going to talk about the pipeline.
Good night, Bob. Anybody else want to speak? Come on up, Vin.
Thank you, Mayor. Vincent Coolahan, 27 Allen Street, Dobbs Ferry. Just two items. First, I'd like to thank the mayor for his service for ending your term, and I may not be at the next meeting because I'm booked. But I want to take this time to thank you. But most importantly,
don't say more importantly.
No, most importantly, no, this is because I'm also a firefighter, and recently there have been two fires that I've been at. In both cases, there were not working smoke detectors. One was in a commercial establishment, one was a residential, and it could have been fatal. The residential certainly could have been fatal. Now, I'm not talking about the village of Dobbs Ferry.
Right.
I'm a resident, but I'm a deputy chief in Ardsley. I'm not, but it's just a general terms. People have to be aware that smoke detectors are there for their safety. Many years ago, 50 years ago, we lost two residents in the village of Ardsley. A young child, 12-year-old girl, and her father killed in a fire where that they had a smoke, and the fire department took a very proactive approach after that, making smoke detectors in residents. The building department here does a very good job, but there's still gaps here. People do not understand. Many years ago, actually, let me think now, 11 years ago, I had a student who I saved when I was the fire chief. I saved his life, who had fallen in a well, and he's wanted to be paying back our service to him. I put him on a track where he did install smoke detectors in the Rivertown areas. I did several in Dobbs Ferry, Ardsley, Irvington, Hastings, and Tarrytown. He did this on his own dime. Hundreds of them we installed. But getting back to it, smoke detectors save life. Fires spread very rapidly now because of the construction, the material used, and you factor in now lithium-ion batteries, where I've been on many in this county as a hazmat person. Many lithium-ion batteries, not properly maintained, not properly serviced, using the wrong charger, are deadly. So I'm asking people, the only thing I'm asking the residents to please check your smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. It's required by law. Put that aside, it's required for your life. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your service to us, and we appreciate it. And they always say you should check the batteries when the clocks change. So next week, the clocks change.
This weekend.
That's true. You're right. Okay, anybody else?
David Santini, 104 Briary Road. I'm speaking tonight as a member of and on behalf of the Dobbs Ferry Conservation Advisory Board. Shortly, you will be voting on a resolution to oppose the Project Maple pipeline, which is proposed to cross the Hudson River extremely close to the Indian Point nuclear power plant before it continues northeast across Westchester on its way to supplying several New England states with fracked natural gas from the Marcellus Shale in Pennsylvania. As you know from a couple of emails we've received in the last few months, the Conservation Advisory Board and Sustainable Dobbs both strongly oppose this proposed project. We ask this board to join the boards of many of our neighboring municipalities in passing this resolution, which urges Governor Hochul not to give the approval needed for it to proceed. Not only does it make no sense to construct a potentially explosive gas pipeline so close to a nuclear facility, but expanding the infrastructure of a pipeline so that more gas can be moved and therefore burned is contrary to the goal of using fewer fossil fuels. The Dobbs Ferry ethos is all about cutting back on fossil fuel usage, as seen by the village's push to install solar panels, as Rob said earlier, and EV chargers. So please, let Dobbs Ferry join the municipalities of Hastings, Irvington, Tarrytown, Sleepy Hollow, Village of Ossining, Town of Ossining, Croton, Cortland, Peekskill, New Rochelle, North Salem, and Rockland County by approving this resolution tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for your volunteerism. Anybody else? Come on up. Don't say anything until you get to the mic, Holly.
I'm Holly Malakian, 151 Judson. I'm a member of Sustainable Dobbs in support with the CAB Conservation Advisory Board of urging our Board of Trustees and Mayor to please pass the resolution asking Governor Hochul to deny permitting for new fracked gas pipelines. If I could just list 4 reasons why we should do this. First of all, new pipelines in New York are actually against the law. New York State passed a landmark climate law 5 years ago called the CLCPA, which we should all be very proud to be a part of, which mandates renewable energy goals for 2030 and 2040. We cannot achieve these goals by building out fossil fuel infrastructure. Governor Hochul must follow the climate law and make sure that new fossil fuel projects are rejected. Number 2, these pipelines advance climate change. Burning and transporting fracked gas releases greenhouse gases, primarily methane, which is into the atmosphere, which is one of the primary causes of climate change. We banned fracking in New York a decade ago, yet fossil fuel companies still want to subject us to more fracked gas. If we are to tackle the climate crisis, we must move off of fossil fuels, starting with ending the build-out of new fossil fuel projects in New York. Number 3, they hurt our air quality. Westchester County has a D rating from the National American Lung Association for air quality. Another polluting infrastructure project will further degrade our air quality. Number 4, these projects will raise our utility bills. Building out fossil fuel projects is expensive, actually much more expensive than building and delivering, much more expensive than building and delivery of solar energy. And the cost of more fracked gas is borne by us, the ratepayers, who are already paying too much for utility bills. We need to be investing in renewable energy, not greenlighting dirty, polluting projects that cost us more, make it harder to breathe, and are bringing more climate devastation to our neighborhoods. Governor Hochul has the power to deny permits to new pipelines, and she must use her authority to stop these fracked gas pipelines in New York. I hope you will join the other municipalities and environmental groups throughout the state in urging Governor Hochul to deny these permits. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for all the time you volunteer. So, anybody else?
I can't sit under it, so I just have to keep moving back.
Hi, everyone. Dr. Nitin Gupta, 11 Constance. I actually wasn't planning on saying anything today. What I'm going to say is not on the agenda, but it's in response to Bob and what he said about new families moving in and don't change Dobbs. That is not welcoming. That is actually coded language. My family has always been felt welcome here, and I'm sad that he left, but that's not who we are. And you guys have known, yes, I have come here, and I have made some changes, but I hope that it is for the better. So I think let's move away from trying to be unwelcoming, but we should be welcoming people. You know, I think we've moved. We should avoid this code language. And be cognizant of who we are. And kindness matters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Let's move on to the resolutions. So the first resolution is to oppose the Project Maple proposed project. So we've heard talk about it, and I think all of the board is in agreement with this. This is why we insisted about having it on. We don't have obviously any say in this matter, but we can express our feelings and make sure the governor is aware of how we in the adjoining communities feel about it. So, is there a motion to oppose Project Maple, the gas line, that expansion via compressor stations and new or previously stopped fossil fuel projects, including the Constitution Pipeline? Trustee Galen, second. Trustee Rosenberg, all in favor? It passes unanimously. So thank you for bringing it to our attention, and we certainly feel it's relevant. We will send this off to the governor so she's aware of it. Thank you. Action item number 2 is to establish a new on-street metered parking zone on a portion of Palisade Street. Again, this has been brought to our attention by the seniors, and the traffic committee recommended it, and we certainly have met and discussed it at a prior workshop. So, is there a motion to establish a new on-street metered parking zone on a portion of Palisade Street? Trustee Rosenberg, second. Trustee Rothrock, all in favor? That passes unanimously, so you got it. And now's your time to go. Go. Go.
They want to stay. Stop telling them to leave.
Don't force them to exercise.
You're welcome.
And it empties out real quick.
Action item number 3 is to discuss a resolution authorizing the disposal of end-of-life material, computer equipment. We have the specific equipment listed, where they're located. So is there a motion to authorize the disposal of end-of-life surplus computer equipment?
I have a motion.
Trustee Nell, second. Trustee Rothrock. all in-
Discussion. Just quick, how does it get disposed? Anybody know? Is it recycled? Okay, cool.
All in favor? That
Thank
passes unanimously. Action item number 4 is to approve the audit of claims. Is there a motion to approve the audit of claims? Trustee Nell, second. Trustee Rosen Asher, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Trustee Galen, do you have anything that you'd like to bring to our attention?
Halloween, is someone talking about Halloween?
Sure, if you want.
I don't need to.
You can.
Okay, well, as long as it doesn't rain, I guess. We're closing the streets for trick-or-treating on Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and then their rec department is putting together some fun, older kid-friendly activities on a portion of Main Street later into the evening, I think till 9. And I don't know what our plan is going to be if it rains, so maybe we should talk about that, but not looking so good.
It's wind right now.
Oh, okay, good. Moved in the right direction. So happy Halloween. Everyone, please be safe out there.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, it arrived at around 4:30, so.
So is there a rain date, getting back to what Trustee Galen said, is there a rain date for this? Are we just going to do it in the rain or shine, or what? Any thoughts?
There's only one Halloween, and that's October 31st.
Yep.
So-
And if it rains, but it's not gonna rain, I feel.
Rain.
If I'm the mayor, it'll
No
rain.
matter
what.
So we're doing it rain or shine, is that what we think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
No,
but, but
Well,
but
no.
probably not
I mean,
so
no,
much
it's
if it
not
rains.
No, if it's horrible rain, we're not going to do it, right?
If it's like a terrible weather condition, like a hurricane, we wouldn't do it, but if it's drizzling,
No, if it's drizzling,
Bring
it's
your
fine, but
umbrellas.
Kids aren't going to trick or
get to
treat
make the
because it's
call.
raining so
We've
much.
all
We're
Yeah,
Trick-or-treated in
yeah.
the snow, we've
Okay.
trick-or-treated in the rain.
Okay.
Kids these days are coddled.
Trustee Rosenberg?
Oh, I don't have anything.
No.
Nothing.
did you wanna give,
I always remember after.
did you wanna give the update on the New York Forward?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do. Well, I sent it to all you guys, and hopefully we'll have an update in this week's newsletter, I imagine. But the LPC, which is the local planning committee that decides on the final slate of projects, is sending $6.6 million of projects to the state for consideration for the New York Forward Grant. They'll have to cut, the state will then cut $2 million plus from it to get to the 4.5, but all the projects that we put forward as a village are still in that slate, except the library project, which is getting put forward at a $0 recommendation because we still want the state to consider that for other projects, because it would be great to have that there. So we're trying to keep it pushing forward, but we did have to like whittle it down somewhat. And same with another private project where you're putting it forward, but at a $0 recommendation, but that helps them towards other grants in the future. So, so yeah, that project, that part is done. And now it's with the state. We'll find out in late spring what we get.
I want to thank everyone who, I want to say volunteered, they did volunteer, right?
Yeah.
All the people who volunteered who were on that LPC, the local planning committee, that Trustee Rothrock, Trustee Nell, Dr. Nick Gupta was on that, as well as myself, and about 8 other people were on that. So I want to thank, that was a very time-consuming, but a important and, I was going to say pleasurable time, right? So thank you for everyone who contributed to that. Trustee Rothrock, do you have anything else you want to add? About anything?
No. I did thank you for the introduction to the Children's Village. I'm hopefully at the next meeting, I will have an update. I'll meet with them and have an update.
Right, he responded very quickly, so that was good. Okay. Trustee Rosen Asher, do you have anything?
I don't think I have much, but just a reminder that we do have a Human Rights and Diversity Committee. And I agree that we want to be a welcoming and affirming village. And they are the people to talk to, as you know. They will be conducting more listening circles. And I think that many people who show up at the meetings, it would behoove them to be part of that process. That's it.
Thank you. Trustee Patino, you have anything?
Oh, no, nothing further.
Okay, I do have something that I have to add as a resolution. I'm sorry. It's going to be resolution number 5. So I need a motion to add a resolution which would authorize the street closure of Cedar and Main Street for the Halloween block party to include alcohol vendors. So alcohol will be served by certain vendors during that time, and we need a resolution to approve that. So is there a motion to add this resolution to the agenda? Trustee Galen? No? Yeah.
Yeah,
Trustee Rosenberg, seconded. Okay, all in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Now we're going to add it to the agenda. Now it's on for the agenda. Do you want to discuss it first?
Yeah, just a quick question. What time does outdoor alcohol vending start? Is it 4 o'clock when the little kids are around?
It says
or-
6 to 9.
Okay, I'm fine then.
and-
Thank you.
The topic came up that this is a necessary approval because it's public property. So the board always has to approve the vending of alcohol. It does not obviate the need to get SLA permitting and also a safety and management plan. I don't know that the police are aware of this vending. So unfortunately, Travis isn't here tonight, but in the past, the police have been involved with enforcement of corralling or indicating or security or also IDs and the vendors providing their own security. I mean, there have been lots of conditions used in the past for vendors of this nature. I don't know what plans are in place, and I apologize, this resolution in draft came at 4:30, so I was already on my way to another board meeting. I did not have a chance to review the wording of the draft, and I have not seen the SLA applications or the insurances or any of the stuff that you would get from a.
Well, we're going to approve this pending the appropriate licensing agreements and insurance provisions so that Rob can look it over and make sure that he has all that beforehand.
Can I just ask a question? Is this for like outside vendors coming in, or this is the restaurants?
Restaurants.
Yeah, okay.
Restaurants. And this,
Let
so,
me
and
just
this
make
is
this-
just for the block party area, right?
Right, so let me I'll just say it, and then you guys could, so it says, we authorize the closure of Cedar and Main Streets on Friday, October 31st, between the hours of 2 PM and 7 PM to accommodate the annual trick-or-treating event. Whereas the Board of Trustees wishes to acknowledge that the Halloween block party will take place on Main Street from Oak Street to Chestnut Street from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. following the conclusion of the downtown trick-or-treating, and to extend the authorized street closure until 10 p.m. for the portion of Main Street and between Oak and Chestnut Streets. Whereas the Board of Trustees wishes to amend the previously approved resolution to include the participation of approved vendors selling alcohol beverages during the Halloween block party, subject to all applicable state and village requirements. Be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby amends Resolution 235-2025 to authorize the participation of properly licensed alcohol vendors in conjunction with the post-Halloween block party event, subject to all state and village requirements. And be it further resolved that the Chief of Police and Department of Public Works are authorized to close Main Street between Oak and Chestnut Street until 10 p.m., and to take any necessary measures to ensure the safety and smooth operation of the event. Okay, so we have a motion that was putting it, we've made the motion, now it's just a vote. So all in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that passes unanimously.
Who,
If there's nothing further, is there?
Mr. Mayor, who motioned that? I have the motion from adding it. I don't have the motion for approving it.
It was trustee Nell?
Okay,
And Rosenberg was second.
okay. And is somebody going to send me the resolution?
Yep. This is a piece of paper. Someone will send it to you.
She doesn't like paper. Send it down to her, she
What's
has
an
it.
email with the words?
I can email it to you, Liz.
Is there a motion to end tonight's meeting?
Yes.
Trustee Rosen Asher, second trustee Rothrock, all in favor?
We have advice